Level 1, the fan. You're 8 years old, standing behind a chain link fence, about to witness something your brain isn't ready to understand. The sound hits first. Not just noise, a thunderous wall of power that slams into your chest before your ears can even recognize it as motorcycles. Then they appear. They explode through the corner. 60 kilograms of machine fused with 70 kilograms of fearless rider, leaning so far that it looks impossible. They flash past at a speed the human eye was never meant to follow, and they're gone before you can even process what you just witnessed. Your father is saying something beside you. You don't hear a single word. The race is only a regional round. Nobody famous is here. The riders are local mechanics, students, weekend warriors. But to you, they are the most extraordinary people you've ever seen. You don't move from that fence for the entire race. When it's over, you ask your father one question. When's the next one? He checks the program. 3 weeks. Those 3 weeks feel endless. You spend every day watching race footage online. Not highlights, full races. You study the lines riders take through every corner. You watch their bodies shift, the inside knee out, the head tucked low, the outside elbow high. You notice how the greatest riders make the impossible look effortless, even when the data proves they're doing something extraordinary. You don't own a bike. You don't have a license. You're only 8 years old. And the only thing you truly have is the image of those motorcycles flying through that corner, and an unshakable certainty, with absolutely no evidence to support it yet, that this is what your life is meant to be about. You just don't know how long the road ahead really is. Level 2, the mini bike. You're 10 years old, and the most valuable thing you own lies in the shed. A tiny 50 cubic centimeters pit bike. Red, scratched down the left side by its previous owner. The handlebars are slightly bent, pulling the front wheel 2 degrees left whenever you ride hands-free. You couldn't care less, because it starts. And every single time it starts, it feels like the greatest machine ever built. Your parents didn't buy it because they believed you were going to become a racer. They bought it because that moment at the fence happened 3 years ago, and you haven't stopped talking about motorcycles for even a single day since. They made a simple calculation. A controlled machine in a supervised environment was far safer than whatever you would eventually find on your own. The shed sits behind a half-acre property. Around the edge is a worn dirt loop. That's your racetrack. Every afternoon after school, you ride it until the light disappears. A phone leans against a fence post, timing every lap. The first one, 48 seconds. 1 month later, 41. 3 months later, 36. You're not actually riding faster. You're riding smoother. And that's how you become faster. You just don't know it yet. You crash all the time. The ground is grass. The grass is forgiving. So you pick the bike up and go again. The real lesson isn't something anyone can see. It's hidden in your hands. The feel of the throttle. The connection between every input and every response. The way the motorcycle talks back through the handlebars, the seat, and the pegs without saying a single word. Without realizing it, you're building a library of sensations that your body will keep referencing for the rest of your racing career. Nobody ever tells you that's what's happening. It happens anyway. Level 3, local track practice. You're 13, and one connection changes everything. Someone at the club knows someone who runs junior practice sessions at a circuit just 40 minutes away. The track isn't glamorous. A 1.2-kilometer club circuit. A pit lane patched with cracked asphalt. A timing board running on software that already feels ancient. But to you, it might as well be a world championship venue. The other kids arrive with proper junior racing bikes. You roll in on your little pit bike. Technically, it's the wrong machine for the class. The session coordinator stares at it for a long moment, then decides to let you ride anyway. You're the slowest rider on the track. 6 full seconds per lap behind everyone else. You don't care, because for the first time, you're riding on a rail circuit. Real corners, real runoff areas, real barriers, surrounded by people who actually understand what you're trying to become. For the first time, motorcycling doesn't feel like practice anymore. It feels like racing. You return every single week for the next 8 months. By month 3, you finally get a proper junior race bike. A race-prepped 110 cubic centimeters machine, sold by a retiring junior racer at a price your parents could barely stretch enough to afford. Your lap times begin to fall. Not dramatically. Not overnight. Just relentlessly. The session coordinator watches you for 2 months without saying a word. Then one afternoon, he finally walks over. You look at the exit before most of these kids even look at the entry. He never explains why that's important. He doesn't have to. You already know. By the end of the season, you're just 1.4 seconds away from the track record in your class. You're 13 years old, and now your dream has a number. 1.4 seconds. Level 4, Junior Racing League. You're 15, and for the first time, your name appears on an official race entry list. The application took 3 long weeks to clear. You refresh the club website again and again, reading your name on the provisional grid 6 times before it finally feels real. Grid position, 12 out of 14. The 2 riders behind you are making their debut too. One of them is only 11 years old. You try not to think about that. Race day feels nothing like practice. The paddock is alive with the smell of race fuel, hot rubber, and a strange electric tension that's not quite fear and not quite excitement, somehow both racing through the same heartbeat. During your warm-up lap, your hands tremble lightly on the handlebars. Not enough to stop you, just enough to remind you this matters. The lights go out. You finish 8th. Not because 8 riders were slower, but because 4 riders ahead made mistakes, and you didn't. Every corner is clean. The start is controlled. By lap 3, you found a rhythm that never breaks. After the checkered flag, your hands shake harder than they did before the race. Back in the paddock, the coordinator walks over and quietly tells you your Sector 2 time was the 5th fastest of the entire field. You lock that moment away somewhere you'll never forget. That season, you race 11 times. You finish in the top 5 on 4 occasions. And once, you stand on the top step after a rain-soaked race where half the grid crashes in turn 1 while you're already safely through. The victory doesn't feel like luck. It feels like being exactly where you earned the right to be. Level 5. National Championships. You're 18, and now you're racing on circuits you once only dreamed of watching through a screen. The National Series is bigger in every possible way. The bikes are quicker, the riders are sharper, and the preparation is so professional it makes junior racing feel like a rehearsal. Every competitor arrives with setup sheets. Everyone has data. One rider in the class above has a 3-person crew whose only job is preparing his machine and studying telemetry between every session. You have your father, who learned to change tires last winter and has quietly become incredibly good at it. You qualify 7th out of 22. Your opening qualifying lap is 4 seconds off the pace. Your final lap finish is just 6/10 away from pole. That's what national competition really feels like. The first lap is uncertainty. The last lap is the version of you that spent an hour learning everything the circuit wanted to teach. The races are relentless. You finish the season 14th overall, which sounds ordinary until you understand what it took. You beat riders with bigger budgets, more experience, and better machinery on the days your ability to read the track and make adjustments nobody suggested made all the difference. At this level, what changes isn't just the riding, it's everything surrounding it. The pressure, the travel, the expense, the distance between chasing a dream and actually being able to afford it without the financial backing you still don't have. You start the final race of the season knowing next year has to change. Not simply better, stronger, more supported, more committed. You finish 5th, your best result of the year. And on the drive home, the planning has already begun. Level 6. Factory-supported rider. You're 22, and for the first time, there's a logo stitched onto your leathers that doesn't belong to you. The sponsorship conversation began over coffee at a trade show in February. A brand development manager from a mid-tier manufacturer had been tracking your results for the last 18 months. Not your victories, your consistency. Your ability to repeat the same lap time on lap 1 and lap 15. Your habit of finishing races others couldn't. Telemetry that revealed smooth, confident inputs where everyone else showed corrections. They offer you a support package, not a full factory contract. Bikes at manufacturer cost, technical support, a modest retainer, and their logo across your gear. It's enough. The bridge between what you could achieve alone and what becomes possible with real backing. The expectation is results, but the real reward is access. You're suddenly surrounded by conversations about setup data that 6 months ago sounded like another language. After every session, your engineer sits beside you and points to the gap between where you break and where the data says you should. Meter by meter, race by race, you erase that difference. You finish 3rd in the national championship. Not because you're the outright fastest rider, but because over 32 races across 14 circuits, through conditions ranging from flawless to dangerous, you make fewer mistakes than almost everyone else. A championship podium isn't built in one race. It's built from 1,000 tiny decisions adding up over an entire season. The manufacturer renews your contract. As the meeting ends, the development manager smiles and says, "We want to see how far you can take this." You already know the answer. You just haven't proved it yet. Level 7. International Racing. You are 25 and the circuits have different names now. Jerez, Portimao, Misano, Assen. Names that once lived only in race broadcasts you watched as a child. You used to read them off a screen in a language you didn't understand while commentators spoke about riders who felt impossibly far away. Now you are standing on those circuits, walking through those paddocks, living in those time zones. The international field is the sharpest filter you have ever passed through. Every rider here was the best rider in their national championship. Every rider here had the sponsorship conversation that changed their life. The standard is higher and the gaps are smaller. Sometimes the difference between 5th and 15th is one decision in one corner on one qualifying lap. You are competitive, not dominant. Competitive, which is honest, which is exactly where you need to be. You study harder than ever before. Video analysis, data review, and conversations with your engineer that continue for 2 hours after a session because you're trying to understand one precise detail about how the rear contact patch loads in the middle of a corner. You become close friends with two riders who work the same way. You share information openly because you understand something important. This sport rewards riders who improve, not riders who hide what they know. Year 1 internationally, you finish 9th overall. Year 2, 5th. Year 3, podiums at 4 rounds, and the conversations around the paddock sound different now. People are no longer asking how you got here. They're asking where you're going next. Level 8, World Title Contender. You are 28 and the championship gap is 11 points with 3 rounds remaining. You have stood on the edge before, close but never quite there. Always in the fight, but never at the front. This time feels different, in ways that are impossible to explain and that you don't even try to explain. Because explaining things doesn't erase an 11-point gap. The pressure becomes something you can physically carry. You feel it in the paddock, in every briefing, in the way your garage falls quieter than ever because everyone knows exactly what's at stake and nobody wants to make it heavier with unnecessary words. Your engineer stops cracking jokes after Thursday, not because anything is wrong, because absolute focus speaks its own language, and silence becomes part of the conversation. You qualify second at round 16. Race day starts dry, then dark clouds threaten rain by lap 8. Then the circuit begins drying again, the kind of conditions that create chaos if you hesitate. You don't. On lap 9 you make the call to stay on slicks while the pit board offers the chance to switch tires. The decision comes from instinct backed by experience, the track temperature, the grip through the final sector, everything you've learned about how quickly this surface dries. The call is perfect. You finish second. The championship leader comes home fourth. The gap shrinks to 3 points with 2 rounds remaining. You sit alone in the garage long after the race, not celebrating, not analyzing, just absorbing the reality of where you've arrived. The fence, the pit bike, the junior track, the sponsor meeting, the international paddock. Every single step leading to this one moment. 3 points. Level 9, the motorcycle racing legend. You are 31 years old and your national anthem echoes across the circuit. The podium is the same physical structure it has always been. 3 platforms, a microphone. People standing exactly where they earned the right to stand. You have climbed it before. You have stood on the second step 11 times and the third step more often than you can remember without checking. The top step feels different, not because it stands higher, but because of everything it demanded to reach it. The season was never perfect. You lost one round to a mechanical failure that wasn't your fault. You lost another after a qualifying crash in conditions that should never have gone racing. You fought back from both and reclaimed the championship lead because a career built on relentless consistency doesn't break when one weekend goes wrong. It absorbs the setback. It keeps moving. You win the championship by 19 points. The mathematics are settled with 1 round remaining, which means the final race is simply another race, which means you can experience it in a way a title decider never allows. You enjoy every second. You ride the last lap slowly, not ceremonially slow, racing slow, the rhythm you could maintain forever. The kind of pace that looks effortless from the outside because, after all these years, it truly is. After the podium, your engineer finds you in the garage. He doesn't say a word. You don't either. There is nothing left to say that the season hasn't already said for both of you. Somewhere, right now, a kid is standing by a fence watching motorcycles scream past a racetrack. They don't know it yet, but today is where their story begins, exactly like yours once did.